Coach Greg McDermott with us. Coach, we'll give you this opportunity to kind of make an opening statement about the addition of Alex O'Connell, and then we'll get underway and we'll take questions.
Absolutely. Thanks, Rob. Very excited about the addition of Alex. Obviously with what we could potentially be losing after the completion of next season, the great thing is we could have a lot of seniors on that team, and obviously that's awesome until you roll forward till the next season and you don't have a lot behind him. So to bring in a guy that has the type of experience that Alex has, his combination, as I mentioned in the release today, he possesses size. He's very, very skilled, high basketball IQ, and can really shoot the basketball. Really fits us. And from day one, he had a desire of wanting to sit out and develop his game, regardless of whether the rule changes to allow immediate eligibility. So it was a perfect fit for us. And as we got to know each other, I think he felt like our system, our style of play, and that the plan that we had for him moving forward, especially in his developmental year, was exactly what he was looking for.
All right, we'll take questions first. Adam Kruger with KMTV.
Hey, Coach. With the pedigree that Alex brings to the table and his history, I guess that he's sitting out next year, how much can he still help the returning players in practice? How much better can he make them in this year that he's sitting out?
I don't think there's any question he'll have a huge impact. To have to guard someone like that in practice every day. We saw it with Antoine Jones this year in practice, a big physical body. It was hard to keep out of the paint. Guys that have sat out before, from Maurice Watson to Marcus Foster to Cole Huff, all those guys had an impact on the present team while they were preparing to play themselves and working on that developmental year. And I don't think the case will be any different with Alex. I think he has the versatility to play a couple different positions. I think he can take the ball off the rim and lead the fast break. I think you can certainly use him in ball screens. And he's going to be able to space the floor and come off screens and shoot the basketball for us. So, it's a great fit all the way around. We're really excited.
John Niatala?
Yeah, Greg, cross college basketball, it seems I don't know if it's how to phrase it. Players are leaving college before exhausting their eligibility more than maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago. How has that changed the way you guys go about your planning for the future, knowing that you're a developmental program and it could lead to guys leaving early?
Yeah, I think it's just the world we live in now. We certainly haven't been exempt from having guys leave, although the number of guys that have left our program has been relatively few in numbers compared to others, especially guys that were playing a lot of minutes for us. And we've had a couple instances of that. Ronnie Harrell, a few years ago, taking his graduate transfer, going to play for his cousin at Denver. And then Davion this year, that example of, maybe not probably going to be happy with the role he was going to play here next year. So he wanted to look for something else. So it hasn't happened to us a lot, but if they make, if they change the rule and it goes to immediate eligibility, I think everybody's doors are going to be open and closed and open and closed. I think it's going to be a constant movement across college basketball if guys aren't totally happy, because we live in a world that's a "what have you done for me lately" world, and sometimes taking the time to develop doesn't fit into someone's plan. So, we'll continue to recruit quality high school players. That's how we've built this program. We're involved with a couple guys right now in the transfer market that we recruited the first time in high school, and now we're going back the second time. So I think that's why you have to handle it right the first time, because I just think there are going to be situations where guys aren't happy and for whatever reason they decide to make a move. And now can you be in a position, if you have position needs, I think you have to be really careful, about bringing guys in on top of someone that's been committed to your program and has developed. I think they have a right to have that opportunity, to have that position. And that's something that we'll do, everything we can to avoid. What we've done in the past is we've brought in transfers to fill a void we have in our roster. And that will continue to be the case moving forward.
Matt Lothrop, Channel 7.
Go ahead.
Oh.
Hey, Coach. This is one of those deals where you have he has you're giving him 2 years of scholarships to play one season because he has to sit out. What is it about Alex that makes him worth that investment?
Well, he's really talented. He certainly showed signs at Duke of what he's capable of. He had a very good high school career, was a top 50 player in the country. So, he's a really, really talented young man, and it fits the situation that we're in. We could potentially, when we started recruiting him, we didn't know what Davion's situation was. We could have potentially had 5 seniors next year. So anytime you have that many seniors, you better figure out a way to have some experience in your program that's ready to play, that has played, so you don't have a big drop off after you lose a great senior class. So, whether we have 4 seniors next year or 3 seniors, whatever it turns out to be, we're going to need to replace some people. And, to have someone that has played as much college basketball at a high level as he has was a perfect fit for us.
Rex?
Coach, to kind of follow up on the recruiting topic, this program has had more and more players make their way to the NBA in the past few years, and we'll wait to see what happens with Tyshawn for sure. But how much does that help you sell when you're recruiting, the fact that you're turning out guys that make it to the professional level?
I don't think there's any question it helps. It's certainly not the main focus of what we sell in recruiting, but you also do sell the possibility and the dream that if you come in and you do what you're supposed to do, you develop your game, that, our system will allow you to grow in a way where our game is very similar to how the NBA plays. They play in transition. They're involved with, spacing is really important in the NBA, ball screens, and being able to make decisions in ball screen situations is really important in the NBA. So, we've had guys that have done well here and have gone on and been able to play at that level. And, we'll have more of those guys in the future. The reality of it is if you're going to be on top of a league like the Big East, and you're going to try to consistently compete for championships in a league like that, you better have some guys that are pretty close to being NBA players, or you're going to have a hard time staying on the top of that league for very long.
John Bishop?
Mac, first off, how is Alex defensively? And a quick second part, what kind of timetable do you have for Tyshawn making his decision?
Well, congratulations, John. I thought this one might be a little early for you, so I'm glad you're up and ready to go already. Defensively, I think he'll fit in. Duke's defense was obviously a little different. They got out in passing lanes and pressured a little bit more. There was a little bit more in the full court, where ours is, obviously where we provide some pressure on the basketball, but we're trying to contain that dribble off the basketball and keep it out of the paint. I think he's a very intelligent defender, so I think he really understands positioning on the floor, where he's supposed to be, what his help responsibilities are. So I think while that will be a little bit of an adjustment for him, we have a year to do that. Give me the second part of your question, Tyshawn. Tyshawn and I talked after he had the media call with you folks. He and I have never had a discussion about any sort of deadline that he has to meet from my perspective. Right now, the deadline is June 3rd for him to maintain his eligibility. And if he lets me know at 11:59 on June 3rd, that's soon enough for me. So, we'll hold a spot for him, let him go through the process, and then see what happens from there.
Matt DeMarinis?
What's up, Mac? How's everybody doing at home?
Doing good.
I guess in talking to Alex, he was definitely set on sitting out and using that year to develop. But then Tyshawn's obviously decision to declare, and I'm assuming he's not the last person on the roster that'll at least put their name in and see what the evaluation is like. Does his situation in terms of his eligibility for the upcoming season depend on if you have an injury or a departure that maybe you weren't expecting for at this time?
Well, as the rule stands right now, he wouldn't be eligible to play.
Right.
Because he'd have to sit out a year. He hasn't completed his undergraduate work. He still has some work to do there. And without some sort of waiver, it wouldn't be possible for him to play unless the rule is changed. But, Alex and I from the start were in agreement that for him, the best thing for him to do is to sit out, develop that body, and then have one great year, because he has aspirations to play beyond college as well, and feels like he really needs to develop his body for that to happen.
Andy Kendi?
Hey, Mac. Wanted to ask you about Ty-Shon a little bit because this is the first chance that we've had to talk to you since he made his announcement. How do you balance doing what's best for him and doing what's best for the program? I know you want your kids to succeed at the highest level, but how do you walk that line?
Well, my responsibility is to Tyshawn. So, what's best for him has to trump what's best for our program. That's why when I said I'll hold a scholarship till the last minute, whenever that will be, nobody knows, because those dates could certainly change as the NBA makes decisions on what they're going to do with their draft, what they're going to do with the combine. They move the draft to August or September. How much time are they going to give teams to bring prospective athletes for workouts? That window's been, probably a month or 5 to 6 weeks in the past. I don't see how they're going to allow that much time. So there's a lot of unknowns right now. But Tyshawn will have as much time as he needs to make that decision. At the same time, we'll continue to recruit and explain Tyshawn's situation to the people that we're recruiting the best we can, and then we go from there.
Matt Foster.
Hey, Mac, are there a certain number of transfers in the transfer market you're still kind of looking at this time, or is, again, that kind of holding off a little bit, not knowing which way Tyshawn's going to go?
No, we're absolutely involved with several guys in the transfer market and a couple pretty good high school players still. So I think as of today, we still have, with Alex taking a scholarship, I think we have 2 left. And, depending on what Tyshawn does, that could grow to 3.
Michael Severe joined us. Michael, you have any questions for Coach Mack?
Music to my ears.
Michael, anything? Okay, Anna Bellhausen also joined us. Anna, do you have any questions for Coach McDermott?
Yeah, hi, Coach McDermott. I'm Anna with the Omaha Sports Commission. What part of Alex's game do you think fits well with the current team? Obviously, he's going to have to sit out a year, but being at Duke with the likes of Zion Williamson, what do you like from Alex so far with the team?
I mean, I think his skill set is what jumped off the page at me. He can handle it, he can shoot it, he can pass it. He's got a 40-inch vertical jump, so he's got athleticism to go with it. And probably the other thing that from the beginning and talking to him and his parents was the desire to improve. Obviously he was at an elite college basketball school, and his dad played there. They moved the family there. So they're very connected to there, but there was something missing. And they were very specific in what they wanted that next program to have. And I think the way that we play, particularly on offense, and then, some of the development that's taken place and some of the guys that we've had come through here was very attractive to him.
All right, we've only got time for about 3 more minutes of questions. Instead of trying to go through everybody one more time, just if somebody's got a question, just yell it out. We'll do 3 more.
Hey, Mac, when you talked to Andy Katz the other day on Twitter, 2 parts. One, you mentioned you have a couple guys going through the process. Is that true?
I can't comment on that because they're, if they decide to make the decision that they're going to declare for the draft, I want them to have their moment of thunder. I don't want it to come from me. There were multiple, what I will say is we sent in for multiple evaluations from the NCAA, from the NBA, which is not a declaration for the draft. It's just exactly what it is. You're just asking for some feedback from the NCAA or NBA evaluation committee. But whether guys are going to declare for the draft, that's, everybody has that option. There's certainly there's no penalty. You can do it a couple times if you want during your college career. So, there's a possibility that a couple guys may do that.
Thanks.
Hey, Mac, Tyshawn mentioned that the agent he chooses might indicate which way he's leaning, whether it's staying in, going to play professionally somewhere, or coming back. I guess, are you able to elaborate on how that process is for kids in terms of how they choose between an NCAA certified agent and one that's not certified by the NCAA?
There's probably only mid-30s certified agents. Most of the top agencies in the NBA are not certified. When they went to this process a couple of years ago, there's a laundry list of requirements that these agents have to follow to become NCAA certified. And really in my mind, the only benefit is they're allowed to work with these guys and sign these guys, and they still maintain their eligibility to go back to school. Other than that, there's really not a benefit to having a certified agent. So, if Tyshawn were to choose a non-certified agent and sign with him, he would immediately lose his eligibility. He's fully aware of that. He could choose an agent and not sign and continue to go through the process and maintain his eligibility, which I have recommended that he should do, regardless if he's leaning heavily one way or the other. That decision, at least as of yesterday when I talked to Tyshawn, had not been made yet. I know they're still interviewing some people and trying to get to the bottom of what they think is the best fit for Tyshawn.
We'll do one more question.
Mac, with the potential loss of Ty-Shon, all the way too early predictions had the team up in the top 5, some top 3. Do you feel like if he does take that route to the draft that there will be just a huge hole for you to fill in that backcourt, especially with Marcus starting the season coming off an injury?
Well, first of all, Marcus will be fine by then. It's a 3 to 3.5 month recovery. So I think by midsummer, because of some of the injuries Marcus has had in the past, he really hasn't had an off season for 2 years. So this will be more of an off season than he's had. Obviously you lose a player of Tyshawn's quality, it's going to hurt you. But I think there's some guys that we are recruiting that can help fill that hole. I think as you saw in the Big East tournament, and obviously we didn't have any time to prepare for it after Marcus's injury, but we just shifted guys around. Ty moved to the point. Denzel moved to the wing with Mitch. DJ was still at the 4, Christian at the 5, and we have some depth in the front line next year. We have the ability to slide Christian to the 4 some. We have Antoine Jones that we can add to the mix. So, I still think one of the polls that had us at 4 or 5 dropped us to 10. What a travesty. We're only ranked 10th next year in the preseason poll. So, we'll figure it out. There's still a lot of really, really good players returning should Ty-Shon decide to stay in the draft. And, like me, I think they'll be hungry to get out of their house, get back on the floor and get back to work.
Greg, I do have one more question. Michael Severe was having audio issues, but he emailed me. He just had a question about the strength and conditioning program and how that might have affected Alex's decision.
Without question, we're able to, have, prospective recruits they can't take part in really the virtual tours, but prospective recruits can reach out to them and set up a Zoom call or video call or FaceTime call or whatever with them. And Jeremy Anderson's plan, for Alex that he and I talked about, and obviously he would be the one that would set that into motion off the floor. Jeremy does a great job really getting into the details of how we're going to do it, why we're going to do it, and why these things are important. And, he's been with us a year now. He's had a tremendous impact on our team. I think he was a big reason this year that we were able to keep those bodies as fresh as we did with the amount of minutes we played over the course of the season. He's been an important part of our program, and he will be moving forward, and is certainly in Alex's case because of what he was looking for, somewhere where not only his game could be developed, but that his body could be developed. Jeremy was a huge piece of that.
All right, Coach, thanks for your time. Members of the media, while we were doing this, Alex O'Connell did text me. I'm hopeful we might do something tomorrow.